everybody, this is Gregory with How I Lost Over 100 Pounds and Kept It Off for 30 plus years, where your weight loss and maintenance shouldn't be done with hesitance. Today we're going to continue the ongoing series of Confessions of an Obese Child and talk about my experiences in gym class. Now before we begin, if you need help for weight loss, please contact me through the Clarity FM link found here in the episode notes. Also check out the link to my website that's got like 600 recipes and articles I've written throughout the years. And also check out my podcast, and if you appreciate my content, please make a little donation via PayPal. I'd appreciate it. All right, so I definitely recommend you check out the previous episode, or the 2 episodes back, which was on the locker room, because it is connected to gym class. Some of you might be wondering, like, why is there only one picture? Like the thumbnail is me of fat Gregory. That's the only picture I have from my youth and adolescence. That's all I have. When you're fat, you don't go out of your way to be in pictures. And that's the only picture that survived that I know of. That's the only picture. I think maybe my high school might have had a yearbook picture, but that's it. So you're going to see a lot of that picture. So in middle school, physical education was hell. The locker room was hell. They'd steal my pants and so forth, like I talked about in that episode. But gym class was tough for a couple reasons. One, we used to have to do the physical fitness test. Schwarzenegger was kind of the sponsor for that back in the 80s. But for the sake of getting people in shape, and God, in the 80s, we were far less morbidly overweight than we are now. They would make us do these activities in gym class where you had to see how many push-ups you could do, how many sit-ups you could do, how many pull-ups you could do. Some of you might remember this. And I hated doing this. I hated being called on because I couldn't do a pull-up. Probably in middle school, I weighed 200 pounds already by age 12, maybe. I couldn't do a pull-up. I couldn't do a push-up. I couldn't do a sit-up. And anytime I was just dreading, every year we had to do this. And I was dreading when it was my turn because, of course, just like the episode I did on the invisible student getting in front of class, you have to get in front of everybody. And then, I'd hear the earthquake. Don't get too close. You'll get fat cooties. You'll contract fatitude. These kids weren't that smart in terms of their name calling. So I would have to get in front of everybody and then do the things. The Coach Castro, knew I couldn't do any things, but I guess he had officially do it. The more common embarrassment was just gym class and period. So sometimes we would play soccer, but we were mostly in the gym to play dodgeball. We had a version of it called poison pin, which was essentially dodgeball, but each team had a pin, a metal pin, and the job was to either knock out all the other players on the other side or knock the pin down first. So each team would have a person to guard the pin, right? To catch balls and to essentially be a blocker. So we play that, we'd play crab soccer, we'd do some basketball, and in the gym we're girls at the same time. So, obviously the number one thing that I dreaded about gym class was shirts versus skids, clearly. And in retrospect, it's kind of funny because when you're morbidly overweight, a shirt doesn't cover you. We'll cover this in my episode on the swimming pool. I used to wear shirts in the swimming pool. Wearing a shirt doesn't make a difference, but I would dread it when the coach would tell me that I was on skins, clearly. I would dread it. So I'd have to take off my shirt, and then again, the comments, the man boobs, all the fat jokes and so forth. And of course, I had to do this in front of the girls, which was even more embarrassing. In retrospect, the girls probably weren't even looking at me. They didn't care, right? These are middle school girls. They're probably checking out the cute guys. They probably weren't even giving me the time of day. But, there's that old saying, it's like you're never the antagonist of your own story. In your own mind, you think you're the protagonist of every story, but in hindsight, clearly the girls didn't care. But I hated taking off my shirt, whether it be outside in soccer, whether it be in basketball. I hated it. I know there were some ancillary benefits of being fat, like going back to what we talked about with poison pen. Clearly, since I was the biggest kid in my class, they put me in front of the pin. And I was pretty good at catching balls. I wasn't like, it's a Ganesh, the elephant god that's got like 6 different arms in Hindu mythology. But I was pretty good at catching the ball. So, when you're fat, there's a reason why a lot of fat people become funny, because you're trying to deflect the humor of all the attention that you're getting, and so you're trying to be the funny guy. And you see this played out in a lot of television shows and high school comedies. But you want to be useful. So it was one of those few times, like if I was catching balls playing this dodgeball game, they'd be like, yeah, good job, Gregory, yeah, until I got knocked out. Because what they would do is the other side would just get 3 guys with balls, throw them all at the same time. I couldn't catch everything. But in general, gym class was horrendous in middle school. There was not much good that came from it. I had to expose myself, and I was exceedingly vulnerable, and a lot of name calling. I'll talk about my gym class experience in high school because that was different in some ways, because it was gym class in high school that I had my kind of advent to lose the weight. But in middle school, it was horrendous. And one last thing, we used to have a track, and so the coach would make on occasion us run a lap, and I was so fat that I would get maybe a quarter of the way for an entire lap. 4 laps is a mile. So by the time everyone did a lap and they only had to run a lap, I was a quarter of the way around the lap, and they would just say, Gregory, get back here, the coach. Because the coach, if I was the coach and I had morbidly overweight people knowing that they were getting picked on, it was a different time. Again, nowadays, we have counselors and all this stuff, and we're more keen on cyberbullying and suicide and all these things like that. But back then, we didn't really care. You would think the coach, if the coach had any compassion, would have been like, I got this guy. He's obviously fat. He's obviously eking out, self-loathing. I'm going to help him out and never put him on skins. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of the old 80s movie Revenge of the Nerds, where John Goodman plays the coach of the jocks, and he is just an older version of the jocks. And I think this coach that I had, Coach Castro, was no different. He was a jock. He used to pick on people, and so he didn't see any reason to defend the outcast like myself. Guys, post in the comments. Let me know if you can relate to this story. If you have similar stories, hit the notifications, subscribe, and share button if you haven't done so already. Share with others. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.